Have you ever wondered why the fashion industry feels like it plays by its own twisted rules? In this video, we'll break down how the fashion industry has changed since the early 2000s and why a toxic trifecta of ageism, nepotism, and cutthroat competition now defines who gets seen, who gets paid, and who disappears. In an age where diversity, fairness, and progress dominate public discourse, fashion still seems stuck in a parallel universe. Where last names are more powerful than portfolios, women over 30 vanish from the spotlight, and up-and-coming models are told to work for exposure instead of a paycheck. And this isn't some fringe niche. In 2025, the global fashion industry generates nearly $1.84 trillion a year, about 1.6% of the world's GDP. It's one of the most powerful forces in media and culture, yet it runs on a logic that often seems detached from fairness, merit, or reality. This isn't just a quirk of the industry, it's a deeply embedded, systemic problem that's been airbrushed into invisibility for decades. But in 2025, the cracks are harder to ignore. Has the fashion world evolved with the times, or has it doubled down on its most toxic habits, hiding them behind curated feeds and glitzy campaigns? Somewhere along the way, merit lost its seat at the table. Last names, algorithms, and connections have overshadowed skill, discipline, and years of experience. So what really happened? The 1990s and early 2000s are often seen as the golden era of modeling, and for good reason. Back then, breaking into fashion meant hard work, grit, and luck, not a celebrity surname. Gisele Bündchen was discovered eating at a McDonald's in Sao Paulo. Kate Moss was spotted at JFK Airport. Alec Weck fled civil war in Sudan and was later discovered in London. These weren't reality TV stars or influencer kids. They were raw, unfiltered talent with a magnetic presence that couldn't be taught. Success followed a kind of unwritten ladder. Start with catalog work, hustle through unpaid test shoots, move to editorials, and only after proving yourself, land a campaign or runway show. When I started, you had to learn how to walk, how to pose, how to express emotion, recalls former supermodel Paulina Poriskova. It was a craft that took years to master. Casting was competitive, yes, but relatively fair. Directors sought presence, emotion, and a unique walk. They didn't ask how many followers you had, or if your mom walked for Chanel in the 90s. But by the 2010s, the rules changed. Overnight success stories weren't discovered, they were born. And the modeling industry's gatekeepers began trading merit for influence. By 2025, the fashion runway has started to resemble a red carpet at a Hollywood after-party. The faces are familiar, not because of their modeling work, but because of their last names. Kaya Gerber, daughter of Cindy Crawford; Lily Rose Depp, daughter of Johnny Depp; Bella and Gigi Hadid, daughters of Yolanda Hadid; Lenny Klum, daughter of Heidi Klum. The list reads like a celebrity family tree. These so-called nepo babies aren't just dipping their toes into modeling. They're headlining global shows, opening luxury campaigns, and landing Vogue covers, all while bypassing the years of grunt work required of most aspiring models. Take Sunday Rose Kidman Urban. In 2024, she not only debuted at Miu Miu, she opened the show, a slot traditionally reserved for veterans. Or consider Lila Grace Moss, daughter of Kate Moss, who secured a Marc Jacobs campaign at 16 with virtually no professional experience. I started modeling at 16 and spent 3 years doing test shoots, building my portfolio, and working for free before I got my first paid gig, says one anonymous model. Now I see celebrity kids waltz into Vogue shoots their first week in the business. It's like we're playing different games entirely. Let's be clear, not all nepo models are talentless. Many train, work hard, and take their craft seriously. Bella Hadid has said, "I know I come from privilege." There was this big guilt of privilege, obviously. But guilt doesn't level the playing field. In an industry with limited opportunities, every spot filled based on name recognition is one less earned through effort and merit. And when privilege becomes the primary gatekeeper, fashion loses something vital: the raw, unpredictable brilliance that once made it exciting. If nepotism decides who gets through the door, Ageism decides how fast that door slams shut. And in today's fashion industry, it shuts faster than ever. In the early 2000s, models like Amber Valletta, Carolyn Murphy, and Carmen Cass were still walking runways and fronting campaigns well into their 30s. That era is long gone. Today, if you're not famous or followed by millions on social media, turning 25 could quietly end your career. The numbers paint a stark picture. The average runway model in 2025 is between 16 and 21 years old. Meanwhile, the average luxury fashion consumer is nearly 50. So why are teenagers tasked with selling aspirational beauty to women twice their age? It's not just unrealistic, it's insulting. Former model Jessica Perez puts it bluntly. At 24, I was told to lie and say I was 21. At 27, I was considered mature. By 30, my phone stopped ringing. This obsession with youth isn't just aesthetic, it's systemic. Agencies now recruit girls as young as 13, often pulling them out of school and thrusting them into an adult world of contracts, scrutiny, and impossible standards. Models are encouraged to maintain adolescent physiques well into adulthood, regardless of the health risks. And what happens to the women with experience, confidence, and years of hard-won wisdom? They disappear from billboards, lookbooks, and campaigns as if beauty and relevance have an expiration date. The message is clear and damaging. Once you age out of youth, you age out of visibility. The toxic mix of nepotism and ageism hasn't just reshaped who gets ahead in fashion, it's poisoned the very foundation of the modeling workforce. The result? A cutthroat environment, where survival often means accepting exploitation as the cost of doing business. 10 years ago, I could support myself with modeling alone. Now, I juggle 3 side hustles just to stay afloat, says one model, speaking anonymously. We're up against trust fund kids who can afford to work for free and teenagers who still live at home. How do you compete with that? The outcome is a race to the bottom. Lower pay, fewer protections, and mounting pressure to stay relevant by any means necessary. Many models work without contracts, endure sexual harassment without recourse, and accept exposure as a substitute for money. Social media has turned modeling into a 24/7 personal brand campaign. You're not just a model, you're expected to be a content creator, editor, and marketing strategist. And if you can't afford designer outfits, a professional camera, or the luxury of free time, you're outpaced before you even begin. I spend more time curating my Instagram feed than doing actual jobs, admits one mid-tier model. But the algorithm favors the wealthy, the ones who can post flawless content daily. I'm just trying to pay rent. Then came the pandemic. Fashion weeks went digital, campaigns shifted online, and those with big names or big followings were called first. Models who had spent years earning their place in the industry were suddenly invisible, ghosted by a system that prioritized clout over commitment. These industry trends aren't just abstract issues, they're life-altering for the people caught in the middle. For many working models, fashion is a financial trap masked as a dream job. The pressure to stay relevant, thin, youthful, and connected creates constant stress. Behind the glossy magazine covers are women struggling with mounting debt, eating disorders, and burnout. Some leave the industry with no savings, no resume, and a haunting sense that their prime ended before their 25th birthday. But the damage doesn't stop at models. The industry's obsession with youth and lineage sends a broader cultural message. If you're not genetically blessed or born into fame, your visibility and value expire early. For everyday women, this fuels a toxic feedback loop. How are you supposed to feel confident in your 40s, 50s, or beyond when the fashion world won't even acknowledge your existence? And for younger generations scrolling through these curated ideals, the message is even more brutal. Success isn't about talent or hard work, it's about proximity to privilege. Fashion, once a symbol of creative expression, has become a gatekeeping machine whispering, if you're not born into the right family, don't bother trying. Amid all the noise, there are voices, powerful ones, pushing back against fashion's toxic norms. Paloma Elsesser and Precious Lee have redefined what a model can look like, breaking through outdated beauty standards and putting body diversity front and center on major runways and covers. Mae Musk, at 69, became a CoverGirl icon, proving that age is no barrier to elegance, confidence, or relevance. Yeah, we know. She kind of is associated with a big name, but her acceptance despite her age is a positive sign. Brands like Rihanna's Fenty and Savage X Fenty are leading by example, not just checking boxes, but actively celebrating models of all sizes, ages, and races. Their success sends a loud, unavoidable message. Inclusivity isn't charity, it's a winning strategy. Even within the nepo sphere, some are using their access for change. Adwoa Aboa, born into the industry, founded Girls Talk, a platform that openly addresses mental health, addiction, and vulnerability in a world that often demands perfection. These examples are beacons, not trends. They show that fashion can evolve, but right now, they're still the exception, not the standard. And as long as they're treated like novelties, real change remains out of reach. Why does the fashion industry keep doubling down on practices that so clearly go against modern values of fairness, inclusion, and representation? One reason, they work, at least in the short term. Nepotism generates headlines. When Lila Moss walks a runway, it's not just a fashion moment, it's free press about her connection to Kate Moss. That's marketing money brands didn't have to spend. Ageism is profitable because it sells a fantasy. Teen models with poreless skin and 18-year-old metabolisms are cast to hawk anti-aging creams to 50-year-olds. It's not about honesty, it's about aspiration that feeds insecurity. And hyper-competition? It keeps labor cheap. Desperate models working unpaid, overworked, and underprotected create massive savings for brands. It's the fast fashion mindset applied to people. But this short-sighted strategy carries long-term risks. Today's consumers are more informed and more vocal than ever. They care about transparency. They notice exclusion, and they're not afraid to call it out. Brands that fail to evolve risk becoming relics, while those that embrace change are beginning to reap the rewards, not just in goodwill, but in bottom-line performance. It's easy to feel cynical about the fashion industry, but there are real signs that change, while slow, is underway. Social media has cracked open the gates. Models like Paloma El Cesar and Jill Kortlev built loyal followings by being raw, real, and relatable, long before legacy fashion took notice. They didn't wait for approval, they created their own spotlight. Consumers are also reshaping the narrative. The appetite for authenticity is growing, and brands that embrace genuine diversity across age, size, race, and background are seeing the benefits. Campaigns that once centered on sameness are now facing backlash for tone-deaf casting. Legislation is also stepping in. France now bans underweight models and mandates disclaimers on retouched images. In New York, new protections for underage models have begun to curb the worst abuses. These aren't sweeping reforms, but they're important first steps. Perhaps most exciting, independent brands and publications, unburdened by legacy expectations, are redefining beauty on their own terms. They're proving that fashion doesn't have to exclude to succeed, and that storytelling rooted in reality can still be aspirational. The fashion industry may be slow to change, but it doesn't operate in a vacuum. Consumers, creators, and professionals all have influence, and when used deliberately, that influence can reshape the system. As consumers, we can vote with our wallets and attention. Support brands that consistently represent diversity, not just in ad campaigns, but across runways, websites, and leadership. Amplify models who defy the mold by following, sharing, and engaging with their work. And when we see something exclusionary or harmful, we can speak up. For those within the industry, photographers, stylists, editors, casting directors, the responsibility is even more direct. Inclusion isn't just a buzzword. It's a decision made every day. Who to feature, who to hire, whose stories to tell. That decision has power. And for aspiring models without famous last names or deep-pocketed families, the road is tougher, but not closed. Build your brand with authenticity. Connect with indie designers and ethical photographers. Own your story. fashion's future may not look like its past. And that's a good thing. So, has the fashion industry really gotten worse since the early 2000s? In many ways, yes. Nepotism is louder. Ageism is harsher. The competition is more brutal. Social media didn't just add new pressures, it supercharged the old ones. The window for a modeling career has narrowed to a slit, and the standards have only gotten more unrealistic. But there's another side to the story. Body diversity is more visible than ever. Models of color are slowly gaining the recognition they've always deserved. Conversations about labor abuse, mental health, and exclusion are no longer whispered in back rooms. They're trending hashtags. Maybe the right question isn't whether it's gotten worse, but whether it's gotten harder to ignore. The industry's problems didn't suddenly appear. They've been part of the foundation for decades. What's changed is that the curtain has been pulled back, and now the audience can see everything. That visibility? It's painful, yes, but it's also powerful. Because once something is exposed, it can be challenged. And when it's challenged, it can be changed. So what do you think? Has the fashion industry reached a breaking point or a turning point? And more importantly, what role will you play in where it goes next? Let me know in the comments below. If this video made you think, hit the like button and subscribe for more honest looks into the beauty, politics, and contradictions of fashion.